it's the proudest day, the proudest time, and the seat of a rally car. Because that day, and that hour, and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all we said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Krunching Gears, the Rally Podcast, Season 2, Episode 10. Can you please, as always, like, share, subscribe, rate, comment, all those things. You know, we keep saying this to make a huge difference to numbers over the last few months now at this stage. Connor, have been something else, haven't they?
Oh, they have. It's been incredible. Like, genuinely, we've been just blown away every week with the numbers of downloads for the podcast. Just incredible.
Yeah, so thank you, each and every one of you. Please keep doing what you're doing. In this episode, we're going to look back at the MI Academy, the guys who are all guys and girls who are out in Spain this week, and with some great tales there from Ronan, Comerford and Ken McBride. Also, we're going to preview the Circuit Ireland, which is on at the weekend, and we'll speak to Barry Boyle there from the organising committee, and then Kevin O'Driscoll gives us his thoughts ahead of the event. So, but Connor, this weekend the guys had in Spain, absolutely fantastic.
Kevin, every time we talk to somebody from MI Academy, we're blown away by what's been organised, what's been put together, what the quality of what's been done. And, from, as we will hear shortly from Ronan and Kyle, what they covered this week has just been incredible. Genuinely, the all stops seem to have been pulled out to give these guys a really good experience, both in the car and in the classroom.
Yeah, it is just truly amazing. Like we are world leaders. There's no back doors. There's no sure it'll do. Everything has been done to the absolute perfection.
It is like the level of professionalism that's been put into this is just, it's second to none. Yeah. Genuinely is. And every time we hear something extra being added or something else being planned, you just go, my goodness, there's no stone left unturned here.
No, we spoke to John last week, and he kept everything. He revealed, that Patrick was going to Croatia. We thought that was the big revelation. Then there was another revelation. There was another. This is the story that keeps on giving.
It is, again, everything has been thought of, not just for the drivers, but for the co-drivers. The level of of expertise has been put in there, from the psychological and the mental coaching side of things, as well, the physical fitness, the dietary requirements. And then you have Philip Case, just seems to be going above and beyond with regard to the level of quality and service that's been put into the cars.
Yeah, without a doubt. The cars are meticulous. The color scheme just blows me away every time I see it. Yeah, as you say, nutrition, mental health, physical health. Everything is just. These guys are now, and girls are becoming athletes, and this is way over and above. 10 years ago, Irish rallying, it's unrecognizable from where it's going to be in the next few years.
Yeah, it is. It is we are going to produce stars, and we are producing stars through this. And just, we're giving everybody, sorry, not we, but the MI Academy is giving everybody the greatest opportunity to go out and perform on the world stage. And we are talking about the world stage here. We're not just talking about, a couple of events here and there, or maybe something in the UK. We are talking about WRC and JWRC.
And the ERC as well, too. Yeah. And as John pointed out last week, we have two world champions already. James Fulton and Brian Hoy both benefited from, the academy last year. They weren't members, but they benefited from the program that was in place. And that was in such an early days. This, the results are going to get better and better in the next few years.
They are. I mean, it's a train that, is just chugging along. And I suppose if everybody's on board, and given they're all the opportunities are there for them to take.
Absolutely, and we said it last week, and well, no doubt we'll say it again after this week as well. Like the quality of the guys that's involved, the quality of young guys and girls that's coming up through the system at the minute, we are really in for a treat. Like, I have no doubt in my mind we're going to have another Chris Meek, Craig Breen in the very near future.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely are. And not only are stars of the future out there performing on the stages, they're also networking like mad in the background when they go to these events. When they go to the RC or they go to the WRC events, they're getting to meet the right people. They're getting noticed.
Yeah.
And that's one of the key things.
Yeah, and each and every one of them are so personable. They will be remembered. It'll not be, just shuffling up to somebody and, oh, here's me card or whatever. They're going over and they're making the effort to get to know people. They're getting to, to liaise. They're doing all the right things.
They are. They understand the importance of networking, and it's an Irish trait. We're very good at it. And definitely these guys and girls are making the most of it.
That's for sure. That is for sure. So I think without further ado, we'll hear from Ronan and NK.
So Ronan, you're just back after a busy week in Spain with MI Academy. So what were you up to there?
Hey Connor, thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's great to got the opportunity to head to Spain. First of all, and a big thanks to the team behind that. So basically, we went to Spain to do what you would call a test week. Now, obviously, it didn't take all week, but we done a gravel test on Monday. We done some classroom work and car garage work, then mechanical end of things on Tuesday. And then we went to the tarmac test on Wednesday. And it was just basically to get a feel for the I-20 Rally 2 car, what a machine it is, to be fair. I was very lucky to get the opportunity to work with Eamon. And the two of us worked together both on gravel and tar. Before we went on both surfaces, we done a recce of the stage that we were going to be using. So it was really nice to get an insight into the different styles of pace notes compared to the ones I'm probably used to writing. And also the facilities that the Technopark has, Motorland there in Alcanis in Spain. It was really, really good because it facilitated the whole week for us without us having to move too far. Now, of course, we did move approximately 3 hours, and I know probably John would have said that on a previous episode of this, to the tarmac test. So that was the only really big journey we had, and everything else was right beside us, which was really good.
And from a co-driver's perspective, when you're doing the gravel test and tarmac test, what are you working on? What are you kind of, trying to get from this experience?
Yeah, so, well, first of all, I can say like the different, seeing how the drivers write their notes it would be a starting point. You could probably compare it to maybe having an Irish style of note and then European and world style. Also adapting to maybe one fastest, six fastest, descriptive. So there was a whole range of note elements that way to it as well. Whenever we were in the car, it was quite fast paced. I didn't lift my head at all, to be fair, which is new for me. And it was quite a good way to see how quick the cars are. One thing that did surprise me was the way the car performs on gravel, because I'd never done gravel before. So I had my first time on gravel in Spain in a Rally 2 car, which was kind of like mind blowing. But yeah, it was really, really good. The pace notes side of it is always evolving. They're never, you can do so much work on the pace notes, which we were doing, to try and, get that wee bit more out of a corner, coming into it later, braking and accelerating at the right points. And then after each run we looked at the data with the engineers, and they were able to show us by looking at it's like the way it was shown on the screen, it was like a line graph of different things, and everything was color coded, and there was different elements to how the car was performing and your gear changing, your steering. So it was a wide range of in-depth stuff done. And as I say, if you're saying they're more so to a co-driver point of view, but it works both ways for us because the driver has to make sure the notes is not pitch perfect, but as good as they can be got, because ultimately whenever I call the note, then they know that they have to, later brake in or, to accelerate at the right points out of the corners. And that's what we were trying to gain out of the whole week, by working together, by writing the pace note, using less words, and defining the corner in as little detail as possible, but getting as much out of it at the same time.
So was it more about refining the pace note technique rather than experimenting, or was it a bit of both?
You could say it was a bit of both. For me, I didn't really. It wasn't more so. There was pace note tuition, but it wasn't. It was more so to get the data of the car, and see how it it can be compared to your first run. You come in, look at all the data with the engineer and Philip and the rest of the team, and then what they tell you from looking at the data. We went back out in the afternoon and implemented that, and came back then after the afternoon run, and we were able to see then it was much better, much different, and it's all through getting the coaching and getting the correct information and at the right time and making sure that we communicate the right information, because mostly the car can tell them so much, yes, but we have to tell them how we're feeling in the car and how we feel the car is working. And from that, that's actually probably you could say a major element of it, for us to be able to communicate the correct information to them so they can make the car work for us.
And when you're presented with the data, and obviously the engineers are telling you, what's going on and what the inputs are, etc., what is it that you're changing in your technique, as obviously Eamon's changing his driving style, I'm sure, to based on what the engineers have said, but from your perspective of the co-driver side, what work do you have to do then to blend in with that so that you're kind of dovetailing with Eamon?
Yeah, so probably the delivery of the pace note. So making sure that I emphasize different notes. Maybe if we're coming into a tricky section, making sure that it's emphasized early enough, but not too early, because what I found whenever I was in the car was you don't repeat nothing. So like you can't really, you have to be on time all the time. So I think for me it was just about more about gaining experience with the pace notes, and then also making sure that the delivery was coming at the right time, so that whenever Eamon heard me call the note, then he would know that it's kind of hard to describe at the same time, because you're sort of until you're in the moment, you don't really realize what the data means. So whenever we came off the end of the run, we were like going, oh yeah, we from what the engineer was telling us, we're like, oh yeah, we can see what he means now, that type of way. But yeah, and also the big thing about pace notes for me that I learned was about distances, and making sure that you have accuracy all the time, because like you could be coming. There's a couple of corners on the test stage we used for the tarmac, and one part of it was like it was 4 right into 4 left, and then 3 right, and it was 3 left up. But then there was a section, there was like a crest, which we had like 2 left over crest, but it was 2 left over crest, 5 left over crest for Eamon, and 2 left was, because one's his fastest corner, so then it was 2 left after it. But we didn't have a distance, so what they were trying to show us was that if I had called the distance of 30, which we did add in, and the second run, then his driving style changed, because he knew that whenever he was coming into the corner and coming out of it, there was a distance and he was going to be safe to push the car through it. So that's the type of thing we were trying to get out of it. And it worked really well that way, because it was just one of them things that, you had to be in the moment to do. And it was kind of, it just all really happened that quick, to be fair as well. We just had to learn. It was like forced learning, but it was at the same time, it was really good to be thrown into the deep end, because you get the most out of it then. You can see how in-depth it does get.
Yeah. And is it surprising the amount of data that they do have and what they can tell you from that data?
It is actually unbelievable how much data that like the whole car, like we could come in and tell them something, and then they could turn to the data and it's like, no, you're wrong, because the whole everything that has just happened from you switch the car on to you come back and switch it off is on screen. So like you can't, the data doesn't lie. So it was really cool to see, because like we had the camera in the car as well. So we were recording as we were going through. And we had the camera on one screen, and the data on the other screen. And our engineer Carlos, who was with us on the tarmac test, he was looking at the video and then jumping to the screen with the data on it and saying, right, here's this corner. And then he zoomed in, and he was able to tell us, like, on the first pass of this corner, you were 1.8 seconds, but then on the next pass, you narrowed it down to 1.24. So like that's how in depth it was going. Like it was really, really good to see. It was an awful. You never take it all in at the one time. It's always going to be a process that you continue to develop. And for the likes of everybody that's in the academy at the minute, especially Josh as well. For him at the start, I would say it was the same. But now he's been dealing with it for so long, he's able to he know himself what it's kind of doing. So for the rest of the academy members that was there and who's learning, over time, we will all get to that stage, and we'll be able to all look at the graphs and say, right, we know what this means, so we have to do this, and this to change it. So it was really, really good. It was something that I'd never done before.
Mm.
It's a huge insight, and I was sort of thinking to myself, I was going, it's no wonder it's your job at that level to do it, because like you couldn't have a normal job and do that at the same time. Just so much in it. So, but yeah, no, it was really, really good. As I say, like we all were there, and we all done different elements as well. With the workshop, it was really good to see the car. Philip had a car. Well, I don't think it was every single part of the car, but it was the main parts of it anyway. Was laid out on the floor, just on a mat, and he was going through from front to back and was showing us and describing what everything is and what it does and how important it is on the car. Like so, basically, what I took away from that was that every single part in the car is vital. There's no additional part on the car that, like, if there's something on the car, it needs to be there. There's nothing on the car that doesn't need to be there. I cannot take away. So it was really nice to see that as well. And also the mechanics that was there, we were interacting with them and engaging them. We went down on Tuesday afternoon whenever they were changing from the car from gravels back to tarmac, and we were able to see some of the components that was changed. Everything gets a whole lot bigger, brake discs, and everything just changes. So it was really nice to see that as well. And I was asking them questions about, what does this do? What does that do? Or why do you need to use that and stuff like that? So, as I say, it was something that you're not going to digest all the information at the one time, but over a period of time, you will pick up on bits. You'll be like, yes, I remember in Spain about that, and so on. So it was really good, to be fair, really, really good.
And did that give you a bit of an insight as well, from the point of view of, I suppose, roadside repairs where, something mechanical does break or is damaged, but, you've got to get to the next stage, etc. So did it help from that perspective?
That was exactly the main aim of it, to be fair. So that if something did go wrong, you would know what to do, like changing the alternator belt or changing a steering arm or something, that is bent in the car. Because again, all that's carried in the car with you. So there's no use of it being there if you don't know how to use it. So that was the main aim of it, and it was really good to see and get to change it, to be fair, and see how it all works and how you take it apart and how you put it back together again.
And I noticed Timo Sunanen was there, the Hyundai Works driver who drives the Rally 2s in the WRC. What sort of interaction or what did you get to do with Timo, or what was his involvement in the week?
Yeah, so obviously Timo has a wealth of knowledge and experience, having been in Rally, well, not Rally 1, but WRC it was, obviously with M Sport, and now obviously a Hyundai customer racing driver as well. So Timo came along, and his interaction and work ethic was first class, I have to say. It was really, really good. It was like we had always known him for years, sorry. He was just so easy going, so easy to talk to, always interacting with us. So after we came in off a run, he'd be coming over to the car. We would sort of do like a debrief with him. tell him how the car's performing, and and he would come in and sit with us and go through each of the every driver's data, as well. And from that, he would be able to see that where you need to pick up and where you need to get yourself on it from the word go. So it was really really cool to have him as well. And then from a co-driver's point of view, for having him, he showed us how he writes his pace notes. So he uses descriptive pace notes. So they kind of had to be translated, because some Finnish words in his notes don't mean the same to us. So we had to kind of do a bit of translating, but we got there in the end. And he took us around the gravel stage especially, and showed us how important the gain distances is, and how important your braking zones is, and reducing the amount of words you're saying, but at the same time still making it as precise as possible. So yeah, Timo was really good, and as I say, like, he is very much willing to help us. So we got his contact information and stuff. So I'm actually going to send him a couple of things, as well, just to get him to go over. I am conscious of the fact that he is also he's not doing Croatia, but he'll be back in Portugal, so he has his own bits and pieces to do as well. So, but yeah, he's more than happy to look into things with us, and have meetings like this and Zooms and different things to just go through things. And if you have any questions, ask him as well, because again, he has gone through it all, and he's been in every sort of department, you could say, of a team. So it's nice to have that knowledge and understanding to be able to, for somebody to turn to be able to ask them, like.
And you mentioned Croatia there, and there's quite a contingent of Irish crews competing. Will you have the opportunity to go to Croatia yourself with the academy?
I will indeed, yes. So I will be in Rally Croatia. It was always on the cards to get out to the WRC with them as well. So Croatia, it's just as it's their first event back now after Rally Monte Carlo for the academy team, and the start of the next phase of the European events as well. So whenever I go to Croatia, I'll just be doing a range of things. I might be doing recce support, I'll be doing team support, some gravel crew as well, working with different drivers, and just expanding the network basically, as well, and just finding my feet, because like I got an insight on Tuesday of our classroom day of some of the preparation that has been done already with the team, some schedules that has been done out and different things. So I've got access to all that, which is really good, and I'm able to see for myself now as well. So yeah, Croatia, it'll be a journey, like Rally Spain. It'll be, it's not more so observing this time, it's more so involvement as well. So I'm sort of stepping up into the next phase of it. But yeah, it's a continuous learning process, and one that you're just always going to have to adapt to, because it evolves so quickly.
Ken McBride, you're just back from a few days in Spain. What an experience you must have had out there.
Yeah, it was I'm just back there this morning, so I was, but no, it was a mega experience to get over there with obviously the whole academy team was there, and the whole Falkirk Rally Sport team was there, and Timo Sunen was there. So yeah, it was a great experience to be able to see what goes on. And I have to say, I learned a lot of stuff there within a few days. So it was a crazy experience. I still can't believe it, to be honest.
Yeah, like getting on that plane, like knowing what was coming up, like you probably had a fair idea of what was happening, but to actually to experience it, to sit in the high on the to meet Timo, to get this advice, all these things are like they're like dream come true. I'm sure for like a 19-year-old like yourself.
Oh, for sure, Kevin. Everything was planned to a schedule, and it was very good. We knew what was coming up and what day we are doing what, so at least you had an insight on what you're doing. So we weren't going there blindfolded, as the man says. Like so, yes, having Timo there was really good. He was the guest speaker, and he was a very nice guy and very open and straightforward. He really focused on notes and how to write notes and getting the correct meaning for the best note and keeping it simple, but also having as much information as possible to get the fine detail. So yeah, we analysed the test data and stuff with Timo, and there was also engineers was there too. So yeah, it was proper progress. Like it was a proper test, tarmac and gravel. So we got to analyze our data, and we had obviously the other academy drivers, Josh, Eamon, and Patrick. So obviously we could compare against each other and see how I can improve and where I'm going wrong and what corner you can go faster in, and just there's so much to it. But it's so good to have all the guys there that you can see where you can improve. And then we got to go out on our second run and try and implement those improvements, and then it's really good to do stuff like that.
Yeah, because I like not only like Timu, who is like one of the elite in the sport. They even have those other guys, that are there, at the test, but also at the end of the phone at any time that you need them. Like that has to be such a benefit for somebody like you coming up through the sport.
Oh, definitely, Kevin. That's just so good to have it on the end of the phone. You anytime, any questions. There's no matter what question you have, there's gonna be somebody there to answer it one way or another, or somebody who knows somebody who can get you an answer. And it's great to be working with a lot of people with a lot of knowledge, and a lot of experience. Like so, I can share my data and my incares to the guys that already did what I'm doing at the minute, and that's helps me a lot to progress as quickly as possible, and obviously get pushing on and learning as I go. It's an amazing opportunity to have.
Yeah, and like one of the last times we spoke, you said that you were serving your apprenticeship with Philip Case. You were working at these cars, and then you've went from the spanners to being behind the wheel. Like even that, is there a pinch yourself moment that hang on, how did this happen here?
Yeah, yeah, I started working at Philip back when I was 16, an apprenticeship. So I finished the junior cert and went straight to him, and obviously it's a great opportunity, 16, 17, to be working on all types of cars, mainly R5 cars, and not only getting to work on them, getting to meet a lot of contacts along the way, and seeing how the top drivers likes of Josh puts in the effort and prepares himself for those big events. Like I really got to see and like more or less a behind of the scenes sort of thing. So yeah, it creates a lot of opportunities getting to work with people and guys like that and meeting a lot of people through the way. So yeah, it's quite interesting. It was quite weird again being there and not being stuck on the spanners. So it felt too handy, but no, it was great to like really focus on the driving and focus whenever I was there. We really had to try and just get the experience and learn with all the guys there. Just like ask the questions that needed to be asked, and I just learned. I learned a crazy amount of stuff within a few days. It is crazy, like to be fair, and literally can't wait to try and put those things into practice on my next event. So yeah,
Yeah,
that was really good to have all
yeah.
those people there.
And even on a side note, look, your mechanical knowledge, you know how the cars go together. Do you feel that will benefit you? Like that you're able to think, right? If I done this, this will happen, or this has happened because this has happened, or whatever. Does it all tie in together?
Oh, for sure. I think it's one of these things that's you can't buy. It's like knowledge that's you literally cannot buy this sort of knowledge, and I think it will definitely help further down the line. So I can't. It will definitely help further down the line. So like if something breaks or if you feel the car not right, you'll be able to know where to go without wasting too much time.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like this year you've graduated to the Rally Four Fiesta. Like to go from it to a Rally Two Hyundai, like was it a massive step, or did you feel comfortable almost straight away?
Yeah, I only done two events in my Rally 4 Fiesta. Well, an event and a half. The Malcolm Wilson was only 40 mile, but to be honest, I'm only getting my feet in that joke, and then getting to jump into the Rally 2 Hyundai was crazy. Like, but I just I just kind of sat back and relaxed and let my driving do it. I didn't kind of go too mad, but I just let my driving do it, and I felt very comfortable. But obviously, it was a big, big, big step up. Not only the car, but the roads and the condition of the roads and the tarmac in Spain, and even the gravel in Spain. It's just a totally different experience. So you had to get into experience that at 19 is mental. Like, but no, the cars, those i2 Hyundais, they're quite unreal to drive, and they're quite simple to drive. Obviously, not simple to drive like at a high level, but to jump in and drive, they're quite simple. But I was quite we were quite happy
Yeah.
with my progress, to be fair.
Yeah, and like anybody that's been looking at social media over the last few days, there was one particular jump on the gravel that you seem to quite like. I know it.
Yeah, there's a big jumper in the back straight on the gravel. It's just the way those cars handles and can soak up everything. Like it's just crazy. Like you can went over at a fair rate, to be fair, but when it landed, it's perfect. Like
Yeah,
there's but
and there's no fuss or no
yes,
drama. It just goes again, doesn't it?
yeah, it's very simple. Like, but obviously they're designed to do that, and no, they are a savage piece of equipment, and they're just so fun to drive. I thought it would be harder to drive, to be honest, but it's when you just kind of sit back and don't get uptight too, like don't get too kind of just kind of sit back and let your driving do it.
I don't
It's
overthink it. Just
yeah,
do what comes
yeah,
natural to you. Yeah,
yeah.
so
Don't overthink it too much. I think just sit back and relax and just let your driving do it. See how you do. But yeah, it was very interesting.
but that's this is what we keep hearing that you guys that Alan Heary's and all these guys are teaching you guys before you ever even go to an event or obviously the same with this week. You this was a natural thing for you to get into the car, not to overthink it, just relax and enjoy the experience.
Oh yeah, for sure, Kevin. The minds you have to have your mind in a good state going to events and going to starting stages. Like you don't want to be starting in the wrong mindset. Obviously you want to stay as positive as you can, and when you're positive, happy, your driving kind of does it for you. Like so,
Hmm.
once you've your notes done right, the driving just comes naturally. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's unreal.
Brilliant, brilliant. And like we've seen that in the Malcolm Wilson stages, like you were saying there, that there were stages cancelled one thing and another. But yet, your first, you're only your second ever rally in that car at that level, and you were able to keep a focused, clear mind. You were setting fastest times in your class. At your first time in that car at that level is, I think, is a great sign for the future.
Oh, for sure, Kevin. That was quite good. I've kind of the more kilometers I got under my belt, I was kind of getting more used to it, and I just didn't want to go too mad at the start. Obviously, you could make a silly mistake at the start, and you could slide off the road very handy. There's a lot of snow and ice conditions, so I kind of had that in my head not to make a silly mistake, but get all the kilometers when we're there and learn as much as we can when we're there. And yeah, by the end of the day, the last few stages, we're able to come out fastest on them. So it was quite good to do that. But no, there's a lot more left and there's a lot more improvements to make. Like it's very early days yet, to be honest. But we know we definitely got our eyes open on more improvements to make with our notes and stuff there from
Mhm.
yesterday's tarmac test and Monday's tarmac or gravel test.
Okay.
There's just so much to bring to the table with your notes, and I think that's what the time is. And we learnt a crazy amount of stuff there through the week
Yeah.
with all those guys and all the knowledge they have. So I can't wait to implement it.
Yeah, excellent. And like, no doubt yourself and Liam will work at that over, the next few weeks before the next event. And like that's the great thing that, at 19, you will take all this information, you will, tweak it and make it work for yourself. And Liam beside you is a very experienced man who will no doubt, be full square behind you in that as well.
Oh yeah. I think at the age of 19, if you just soak in all the things that everybody's telling you and take it on board, I think you can learn a lot through that. Like, so it
Mhm.
takes a long time to learn it yourself. It takes years and years and years to learn all the experience other guys has yourself. So I think if you can just really take on board what people's trying to tell you, because realistically they're trying to help you and improve you as a driver,
Yeah.
not only on the stage but off the stage, and even your preparation for the events. Like, so I think just take it all in, take it all on board, and see how you can implement it and whenever you're on the stage.
Excellent. And the other thing that stands out to me as well, you obviously made a great impression with the guys involved in the BRC. You won an award there through the week from the BRC as well too. That was a nice touch from them as well.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. I was getting quite tight towards the end there. I think there's only 1% of a difference, with like 2 or 3 minutes to go. And I'll never forget it. We were all sitting together having dinner over in Spain, the whole team. all the academy members who was over there, and we're all on the phones. We're flat out just trying to get it over the line, and I think that made the difference. Like everybody is there together, and we're all fully focused on the phones. There wasn't a word for about 2 minutes, so I'll not forget that for a while, anyways.
Oh, isn't that like such a lovely memory that you will cherish for forever and a day now at this stage?
Oh, for sure. Like over in Spain with a heap of guys, and they're trying to get you over the line for winning the fuel voucher that the Vital Equipment had to offer there. So yeah, it was quite interesting to be there.
Excellent, excellent. And then, the next round of the BRCs are going tarmac to the Jim Clark. Have you, like, at this stage, are you happy in either surface, or you prefer tarmac or gravel, or?
Um, I don't mind either. I think you have to learn both quite well to get on both quite well. I think one helps each other. The gravel really helps the tire, and the tire helps the pace. The pace in the tire obviously a little bit higher. So I don't mind either. I have more experience on gravel than I do tarmac. To date at the minute. Obviously back in my J1000 days, whenever I was younger, I was doing all gravel events. So the tire's quite new to me. So no, I don't mind either. I really thoroughly enjoy both surfaces.
Yeah, isn't that such a turnaround for a young fella from Donegal who has more experience now on gravel than he does in tar? Like, it was almost like gravel was nearly a dirty word around Donegal a few years.
Yeah, yeah, that's it, that's it. But obviously, back in the J1000 days, there wasn't so much hard events on. It was all gravel events. But before the J1000s, I did do a lot of the Rally Sport Association track days, which was all tar.
hmm
Um, but stage wise, I would have more gravel done back then. But I'm really interested in both of them.
Yeah, and like the Jim Clark is one of those iconic events. Like I know in my time, they had the likes of your Nesbits and all the BRC regulars in as well too. Is it an event you're looking forward to yourself?
Oh, it's a class event. Very good atmosphere at the event. I did it last year in my R2T car, so I have a little bit of knowledge from it from last year, which is really good. I'd never have sort of knowledge from events because I'm just kind of starting, obviously.
hmm
Um, but I cannot wait to get going. The stages they have over there to offer is incredible. It's really nice, fast stages, and there's really good driving in them. So I just can't wait to implement all these things I've learned within the last few days and see how they go. But I'm sure they'll definitely work very well.
Yeah, because like this, this will be the proof of the pudding as such. For all you've learned now the last few days is putting it into practice really, and that's what I suppose I'm going to.
Yeah, for sure. That's already showing that it's working. On the first run of the tarmac test yesterday, we had the data and we were able to. Carlos, the engineer, was there, and Timo was there, obviously, and we are able to just really go in detail with the data, which is so interesting because we had Josh's data and Paddy's data and Eamon's data also there, so you can compare each other's, which makes it really, really, really like interesting to compare each other. So
hmm
like compare it off the top, get like Josh there, like you can really learn like where you're slightly going wrong or where you need to be up a gear or where you need to be cutting in the corner and getting that fine line. But um, we after the first run, our notes, Timo was able to tell me that I definitely had a front wheel drive. He knew he knew exactly about the way I had my notes wrote, and he was right. Like he was totally right. We had the notes wrote for a front wheel drive car, and
Yeah,
that's obviously all the experience I have. So
yeah.
we're able to change them, and we're able to compare other notes and to other guys and just using the right terminology to get the right note. Like it's the European, like the Spanish tire is just so different to Ireland. Like it's
hmm
really more of a racing circuit effect to get your lines correct,
hmm
and carrying as much speed and deep to the corner as you can. And obviously not being too sore on your tires also. But
hmm
when we went out on the second run, we had the notes. We spent a bit of time and we got the notes fixed up and able to see how they went. And straight off the bat, we were just taking major time off ourselves, and it was crazy to understand to see. I didn't think it would be that much time, but yeah, we're able to take a lot of time off ourselves. That made it so interesting.
Excellent. Well, Kyle, thank you very much for taking the time. I'm looking forward to seeing the results of this testing.
Yeah, Kevin, and I'd like to thank you for having me, and I'll also thank Peter S. Ashport and John Coyne and the Academy for giving me the opportunity to do something like this. It's an incredible experience, and not only those guys, but everybody in the Academy is putting a huge effort in this year to really push it on and really progress it as a team. So yeah, it's working quite well. Can't wait to keep going.
Huge thanks to Ronan and Kyle, like literally stepping off a plane to take the time to talk to us, and can't wait to hear what their both, what their next adventures are. Kevin, coming up this weekend, Circuit of Ireland, that time of year again.
Yeah, unbelievable. We're at Easter already. It's crazy. It's no time since Galway, but here we are, round three of the Tarmac Championship. So it really is the championship that keeps on giving. We keep thinking it can't get any better. Like Galway was good, West Cork was better. It's brilliant to see. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Circuit of Ireland, based up in Tyrone, around Cookstown. It's a one-day event, so this is going to be a full-on, flat-out sprint for the day, and could make a huge difference to the championship possibly as well.
Yeah, because a puncher could drop you from first to eighth. That could be at the end of the year could be the difference between winning the championship and losing the championship. We've seen how close things is. A spin even never meant a puncher. So it's going to be incredibly fast. No room margin for error at all, and we've got all the guys there, like Kevin O'Driscoll alludes to. We'll hear from him that the top 10 both from Galway and West Cork are both are all there in the circuit, so that bodes really, really well. We know how good they were.
It does, and it's what do you call it? It's good to see from the championships perspective as well. Nobody's dropping out, or nobody's just choosing which round suits best. Like literally, it's pretty much the same top 10, on the previous two events. So it's phenomenal.
Yeah. It's great to see, like as you alluded to there, in previous years, this has gone back maybe 10, 15 years ago. Guys come in and done 1, 2, maybe 3 events in the year, or maybe, had one bad event at the start of the year and that, they disappeared. Guys are registering for the championship and sticking with it now at the minute, which is great to see.
It is. And I suppose, with the difference in what do you call it, winners and Josh coming back, having Marion had the first win in the first round, so it kind of really is still up for the fight as well. So you would hope that's encouraging everybody as well to go at it.
Yeah. I think there's nobody sort of like a clear favourite. I know we're only 2 events in, but it's not. It's not. There's nobody running away with it, and that's always good to see. Like as we record this here, the seeding committee is working away furiously. So we have been just sent through the top 12 here. So no doubt by the time this is released, it'll be probably the entry list will be out. But at the minute we have Josh Moffat number 1, Marion Evans number 2, Callum Devine number 3, Johnny Greer number 4, Sam Moffat number 5, Catherine McCourt then number 6, Desi Henry then number 7, Robert Barble number 8, Kerry Jennings 9, Declan Boyle 10, Jason Mitchell 11, and Gareth McHale at 12. That's going to be some go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like there's 12 guys there, and we keep saying this. Each one of them's going to be going there thinking, at the very least, the top 3, and if not higher, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, and again, because it's a one-day event, it is going to be full on from the beginning, and there's nobody can afford to slacken off at any point.
Yeah. And that's not even considering the Weller gods. We've seen in West Cork the way they can change the whole thing around as well too. So it's going to be fascinating. So I think without further ado, we'll hear from Barry Boyle, there, one of the organisers, and that then will lead into Kevin O'Driscoll. Barry Boyle joins us now from the Circuit Ireland Committee. Barry, you're very welcome along.
Thank you very much for having me. this is all new to me. We're used to being standing on the side of ditches. This cameras and computers and stuff is a big step up.
Not a bother to you, not a bother to you. So Barry, we're talking about the Circuit Ireland, and we're kind of looking at where, what's happening, when it's happening. I suppose we should start off scrutineering's on the Friday evening. Where would people
Scrutineering's
see the cars and that?
Meteor. That's in and around Meteor, but I don't know if there's going to be much spectator access. It's going to be very, very
Closed
full
off.
on, flat out. Saturday's kind of the day for it. There's not a lot of accommodation around Cookstown, and I think everything has been booked up from the day and hour that this was first mentioned. And I don't think that there's a hotel room can be got within 50 miles of it at the present minute. So yeah, we would say to people, if you're coming and you don't have anywhere to stay, you're as well staying off until the Saturday. We're delighted to have the opportunity. The UAC brought this rally to us on the back of some big successes for Cookstown in the last number of years. And I don't think I heard anybody say a bad word about the Tyrone stages last year.
Yep.
It was one of them, really spectacular days, a real jewel in the crown. So on the back of that, we said that we would take on this opportunity, try it out, and our chairman, Bob McKeown, and the COC, Wayne Turkington, have put in huge efforts to try and get it across the line, because as sure you can sympathise, rallying's all about timing, and when this came down, there was very little time to put anything together, and Wayne and the team have pulled out an outstanding job to put it together in the short amount of time that they've had to do it. My background's been with Donegal for the last 40 odd years, and sometimes I'm wishing that we could maybe steal a few of the Cookstown lads to bring them down south of the border, because they knock out the work like it's unbelievable. So on the day itself, which is Easter Saturday, we're running 4 stages twice, and I've been through most of them. There's something for everybody in it. There's a lot of technical stuff. There's a lot of very fast stuff. It doesn't matter what your style of driving is. There's going to be something there to suit you on the day.
Yeah, and even to pull 4 stages together, that's a huge undertaking for any club. That's extra manpower. That's a whole lot. There's a whole lot more involved in all that too. But obviously the club wanted to give the drivers a challenge.
It will definitely be challenging. There's one of the stages is an old classic from way back in the day. There's 2 of them up and around the Sperrins, one of them out around Coe, and I think the last one's in and around Permoy. So there's stuff there that hasn't been seen for a long number of years. And stages have been run backwards, they've been run extended out, pushed in. It's just trying to change it up, trying to keep it fresh. Thankfully, there's been a massive entry for this. As we speak at the present minute, it's a full entry plus 30, I think.
Excellent.
So it's looking to be a really, really great day. We're just hoping that it all goes off without a hitch.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's testament to the work that the club has put in. Whenever you're able to attract the full entry, and with the Turnwhite Championship in such good health, it's great to see the main competitors in the championship all supporting the event as well. The entries received there showed that everybody that started at West Cork and Galway are all going to be there. The top 10 from each event. All them guys is all going to be there next Saturday as well.
Yeah, the reason that I'm speaking to you tonight and not the COC is that they're all in doing seeding as we speak, and we had hoped that we would have some kind of an entry list out, but as you can imagine, seeding's a nightmare. Yeah. And they're all happy flat trying to get a list of names up that's going to satisfy everybody, and their time is just caught elsewhere. Yeah. Otherwise, you'd have somebody much more important than me here.
But isn't it a great position to be in? Isn't it great to have that number of entries in? That there is all that work involved. It's not we're old enough to remember that rallies that was run with 60, 70, 80 competitors. It's great to see a fully subscribed entry.
It's absolutely brilliant. I think it's a testament to the Irish Tarmac Championship that when, you know, some of the big rallies are really suffering at the present minute, Tarmac rallying in Ireland just seems to be going from strength to strength. And we have a wealth of talent. I suppose we've always had a wealth of talent, but it's great to see it going on and going on. Motorsport in itself attracts a different kind of person. I know, you know, you'll see the same people volunteering time after time. They'll travel the length and breadth of the country. They'll turn up in the rain and the cold and the heat. Doesn't matter. They're there for the event. They're there for the clubs. It's a real feel-good occasion. You know, it's not, I suppose if you were to try and compare it to the likes of football or something like that, where it has really become a business more than a sport, rallying still maintains that element of the sport. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a hobby that's so expensive it can afford to pay people's wages. But at the same time, at the back end of it, your marshals, your timekeepers, the people who put together the stages, they're only in it for the sport. There's no money involved. It's all volunteers. And it's great to see that in this day and age, people will take time to do that.
Yeah, and as you say, it's the same people week in, week out, and you know we always encourage more people to get involved. And like you know, next Saturday, if people want to get involved, come along. There'll be a job there for them.
Oh, there's always a job. Like you never turn anybody away. And one thing about Cookstown is they've always looked after the marshals very well. Like as I say, my background is in Donegal, and I used to love coming up here because you always went back down with a pin badge or some wee memento of the day that you know you kept. And I've sat on a shelf and I went into the man cave, and it was a memory, and you know, and it was a good memory. And Cookstown still adhere to that philosophy. They look after the people well, and then people support it whenever it comes up.
Excellent, excellent. So, like back to next Saturday, it's leaving Cookstown roughly what time Saturday morning?
I'm just looking at the sheet here. So the first stage is Wolf's Hill, and first car is due at 9:25. Now the road closes at 8:20, and then that's followed on by Mucker at the first car is due there at 10 o'clock. Stage 3, 11:30. Stage 4, 12:10. Then there's a bit of a regroup, and they're back out to do those 4 stages again. So it's Wolf's Hill, Mucker, the Hollow, and I don't know how you pronounce it. Shanafrey.
That'll do me.
The 4th stage. I'm going to go with that one now, and I'm just wondering what part of Poland it comes from, but that's it's in there. Shanafrey, Shanmachry.
Yeah, and
Shanmachry even.
Yeah, and we should make people aware it'll be, you know, it's 2 stages service, 2 stages service. So like, you know, there'll be opportunities for people maybe to get and have a wee look around the cars and service area, but the action's going to be on the stages, you know, and that's just, you know, like 4 stages. Obey the marshals, obey the officials, obviously.
Oh, well, you know, if you don't obey the rules, we'll not have a sport. We've seen what went on this year with the motorbikes and the insurance. On any day, rallying is one event away from something similar. So we try to run a good, tight event. We try to keep everybody safe so that we can afford to do this week in, week out. And, you know, there's not a club in the country that doesn't keep one eye on the insurance premium at the start of the year. It's kind of like the common denominator that rolls everybody back, because you would like, you know, to push it out. You'd like to run longer stages. You would like to run more stages. But for every stage made, there's an insurance premium. And when you're relying on spectators, you're really praying that the spectators obey the marshals on the day, that they don't step out of bounds, that they keep in line of their own safety and the safety of others. Because at the end of the day, we have to have the insurance so that the cars run on the stage. We have to have the spectators so that the sponsors are happy to put in the big money to pay for these top line rally cars. And it's money that makes the world go round. And we're all trying to get the best value for the money that has to go into it.
Yeah, and like something that we should point out, Cookstown Motor Club, you know, has been proactive here. You know, they're trying to encourage spectators, and they're actually providing the programme for the event free of charge for anybody that'd like to get their hands on it as well.
Yeah, the programme has gone out free of charge. It can be downloaded from the Cookstown Motor site, I think, or from the Motor Club website from Monday, as far as I know. Now, I'm hoping to be contradicted on that, and thankfully my wife's not here because she's good at contradicting me. But normally, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a day off or 2 days off on these things. So yeah, Monday it's online. All the details will be in there. There'll be a wee stage map, so everybody will know where to go and how to get there. From what I have seen, there are good spectating points on it. They're all clearly marked. There shouldn't be any issues.
No, and like they're in for a real treat. Like it's the cream of Irish rallying will be on them stages, and we've seen already the events this year and last year. Like it's seconds, tenths of seconds separating the top crews. We're in a spectacular era of the sport, and it's just it's a great place to be at the moment.
It really is. Like there's no denying it. If you were to go anywhere in the world at the present minute and look for quality rallying, you'd be coming to Ireland looking at the Tarmac Championship, because our guys are so good. We have the roads, we have the people who are willing to put in the time to organise the events. We have good sponsors. It's just like it's the perfect storm. It's everything that you would possibly want.
Kevin, we're looking forward to the Circuit of Ireland, an event rich in the history of Irish motorsport.
Yeah, it's probably this year would be another I suppose change. I mean, I've seen lots of changes over the years from where it started as a trial to the advent of stage rallying. I suppose really in Ireland back in the 60s, they were probably the first to really bring the likes of the Healy Pass and all these kind of stages in, and having timed special stages, which obviously led to Southern Internationals eventually coming on having their own rallies, and obviously then through the glory years of the late 70s and 80s and the Group B era, and a few years it didn't run, a few years in the IRC, ERC, and now I suppose it's a 1 day, which is kind of a bit unusual, but it still promises to be a very, very good event. You're talking 120 kilometers over a day's rallying, which is it'll be tough going. It's a sprint definitely, but I mean in Tarmac Championship terms, it's going to be a cracker, I'd say, because everybody that could enter or has been entering so far in the first 2 rounds seems to be there again this weekend.
Absolutely,
that weekend.
Absolutely. Like you say, like 120 kilometers, 70 odd mile. There's a lot, and it's 8 stages. Like so, yes, there's definitely a sprint element to it, but you can't afford, like we've talked before, a half spin, an overshoot, a puncture to definitely ruin your chances.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, even in a 2 day rally, you'll be under pressure with that, but certainly in a 1 day rally, I think, you can kiss goodbye to any chances if you get things wrong, even in third choice, as we saw in West Cork. I think, get it wrong in 1 stage, 2 stages, and all of a sudden you're in big trouble,
Yeah, that is the level that the championship is at, and like that speaks volumes for Irish rallying, that there is, there is no margin for error at all.
No, there isn't. I'm not I know the stages obviously are based around their own direction and whatever. I don't know what I suppose the history would be in terms of them being used in the past. I'm sure they have in some circuit of Ireland or Ulster Rally over the years, but I mean, if they're 4 9-mile stages, you're still talking 14, 15 kilometers stage. There's a lot of driving involved in that, and as I said, no margin for error. I think I like it being a 1 day rally. I think I'd be very surprised if there isn't a single digit seconds winner at the end of it. I think less than 10 seconds for somebody to win it. I think I'd be very surprised if it's anything more than that.
That's for sure. And like even right down throughout the top 10, 15, like it'll be point something of a second that'll be separating them. There's and that I think this is just fascinating to watch now at the minute.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like you look at the unseeded list, it's quite similar to Galway and West Cork. You have the added, I suppose, bonus having Gary Jennings seemingly out again as well. Everybody that was the top 10 in West Cork is there, plus Jennings and a few other boys as well, floating on the edges of that. It's an interesting one because I'm not sure that it's such an unusual event in the sense I don't know who would have an immediate advantage. I suppose you'd have to think that someone like Callum or Desi or these guys. Desi in particular has always gone well actually. Up north anyway, typically with even with the Ulster and with the circuit in the past, getting some good results. Desi finished second there 1 year, a few years back. So I think, he's always challenged there. He'd be one of a dark horse for me now on this. I mean, I know Josh went well last year, and and controversially he didn't win it in the end, but he'll be thereabouts. I just think the fact that they're moving into a different area, and it's not an area I said I know myself for rallying, it'll probably just show a little bit of a curve, I think, for a few of the drivers there. It'll be new territory for a few of them. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It's going to be quite difficult to pick a winner, but I think you'd have to say, look, most of that top 10 likely as we see it will be in with a shout of doing really well.
That is it. It's so hard now to go into an event to say that's the clear favourite or that guy there is going to be streaks ahead of everybody else. There's just not that. Galway
No.
and West Cork proved that. The top 10, 12, each and every one of them's going there realistically thinking, if not a one, a podium has to be in the pipeline.
Yeah, and I suppose it's such a scrap for points as well that you can't really afford. Just say for example, somebody like Josh in a 7th or 8th, which is quite possible if he had a bad start because of the nature of the opposition. All of a sudden the pressure comes on. Now I think he'll do better than that. He's going really well. He's getting the mojo back again now after the first couple of rallies, so he'll be thereabouts. Like Robert Barr will surprise us to an extent in West Cork, but Rob has always had pace anyway. So it'll be interesting to see but he's had a good record actually in the circuit in his different incarnations over the years. Like he's had a 3rd and a 4th back in the day, and so like Johnny Greer's had 4 or 5 top 5 finishes. So all those guys will be quick. I think the key will be starting fast. I think it's the one thing I find with Johnny in particular. He doesn't start rallies fast, but he's actually up there with the best of them on the Sunday.
Yeah.
It's a different dynamic now with a Monday rally. You don't have any margin. So
No.
I think if Johnny or Desi, and to be fair, both of them are probably overdue a win anyway. They're unlucky. They're feeling unlucky. They've led rallies and they haven't won them. Rob is the same. A couple of second places. I think Josh is actually the only person who's won this rally in the past. As I said, in his various incarnations, he won in 2018, but nobody else has. It'll be just very interesting to see how it goes. But I think it'll be seriously competitive.
Yeah, the likes of Desi and Johnny, as you mentioned, they've been doing the Northern Ireland Championship the last few years, and they maybe not those particular roads, but roads similar in characteristics to that. So you'd imagine that might play to their favour.
Yeah, it would. I mean, again, as I said, there's probably some stage rallies, Burns or any of those rallies might have actually been in that location. I'm not even sure, but certainly I would say there's a couple of those drivers would have at least sampled some of those roads in the past. Probably for Northern Ireland Championship round, I'd say there's probably a good chance of it. But it's like that, it's one thing to know the roads, I suppose. It's just the other thing is just get everything right on the day. And as I said, luck plays a big part as well. As I said, Desi hasn't had a lot of luck. West Cork again this year, just desperately unlucky. It's maybe probably a difficult task there because of the fact he was coming in with a new car pretty much, and it takes a bit of time. It probably wasn't the easiest event to come in a new car anyway. It is. Marion is another person as well we haven't mentioned, and how will he go? He started well this year. He's been on a good pace. It's up in the air. Declan got very, very, very fast in West Cork as well. Cahan is another guy who probably could do with a bit of a break in terms of luck. He's had nothing really so far. Sure. Garrett is another guy. He's come back up to pace. So lucky in West Cork to go off, but he won't. He'll recover from that. He'll bounce back from that. And of course Gary as well. If Gary has a new car out there, Gary could be a dark horse to. You won't be lacking.
Yeah, he has a Rally 2 Fiesta in the pipeline now, and that's been converted to right-hand drive. And we've seen in Galway, he was no slouch in Galway. So
that car shouldn't be at the races at all. I think if he gets off to a good start, he'll be hard beat as well. He's very fiercely competitive. I think he'll be there or thereabouts.
And you mentioned Rob Barwell earlier there. Rob had a great run at one of the years that Breen won it. I think he went out, he went out to the end, maybe 2 or 3 stages from home, but he was thereabouts with Breen for, a day and a half or day and 3/4 maybe, as well too. So
he was, and he was also 3rd actually in 2014. That's when he bought the first, I think probably one of the first Fiesta R5s, I said, Ireland back in the day as well. So, but Rob was a cool character anyway, and again, that won't pace him. He's fast everywhere he goes anyway, and it's a fantastic addition for someone like him into the championship because he is so quick. He's a naturally quick driver anyway. He's not going to be left behind by anyone. So it'll be an interesting mix. I'd hate to be a betting man to get any of the top 6 positions right.
I know. We haven't even mentioned Sam Moffat. Sam is another guy that can be quick anywhere as well too. So.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's probably a learning curve with the new car, and maybe the fact as well he's been out of the R5 scene for a year. Maybe just takes a little bit of time to go back into. I won't say the swing of things because he has set fast time. Just probably just find the right setup for that car. I think with Josh's car reminds me a lot of Eugene's Corolla in that the development that got into it and the work that has gone into making it right for Irish Tar. I think you probably have they're the perfect package there at the moment.
Mhm.
It might take a little bit of time to get the second Hyundai, the new Hyundai, up to that level. But it won't be for the want of trying. I'm sure they'll get it right eventually.
That's for sure.
So we'll see how it goes.
And then Callum and Josh are doing the Circuit of Kerry as well, so they'll be coming in match fit and ready for action as well.
And they will. I think Callum is following Josh's playbook from last year on that. I'd say just get out there and get seat time and whatever. It didn't work as well from West Cork after Midlands, but at the same time, look, he's had 2 strong finishes now anyway. So it's good. You can't rule him out. I mean, I can't remember how he fared last year on this rally. He had some. I think he moved to the Volkswagen last year.
Yes, that's right.
On this rally, and he had some
problems.
he had some issues. Yeah, that's right.
But still took a third, even with the issues, So, and it's probably very early, but championship wise at the minute, how's things looking there?
Yeah, I haven't even checked points properly, but a mental calculation would have it. Obviously, Mariana with a win and a third place, I think, and then you have Callum has what? Excuse me, a second and a third, I think. And am I right saying that? Second and Josh would have a win, a first and second. So, probably no more than 5 points between the first 3 at the moment, and obviously Rob had a good score in West Cork as well. So, and Johnny's has a couple of solid results behind him as well. So, I think. It's interesting. This is the one I think. This is the one that will probably give a fair indication as to how we go into Killarney after that. I think when you've 3 strong rounds behind you, oftentimes it's very difficult for anyone to come back.
Yes.
I know you've dropped rounds and everything else, but I still think it's if Josh and Marion and Rob, for example, are the top 3 in the circuit, it will be difficult for the others to pick up them. To break the momentum of the top 3 at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now the whole thing could get turned on its head, and you could have, say, Johnny or Desi there, and all of a sudden it blows the championship wide open, and you could have 5 or 6 drivers all of a sudden vying for the lead. That's the interesting thing about it, and that's what's really good about this year's championship is that it's been well supported by the top drivers. I mean, we've seen times in the past where somebody might do the first round, mightn't go again for a couple of rounds until Donegal or whatever. Now, with the exception of Gary, because his car was being changed or sold. Everybody that was top 10 in West Cork and in Galway is back here again, and that's good to see. It's
that really speaks volumes for the championship and the level it's at too. So we can't.
And there's no slow coach in that. They're all well able, they're all strong drivers in their own right. It's just a matter of getting their car and the heads right on a given day. And as I said, you only have one day to do it in this situation. So
that is the crazy thing about it. The first stage next Saturday morning, pulling out of Cookstown, it is going to be epic. Just waiting the times coming in at the end.
Looking forward to that now. Just seeing it because I won't be able to go. I mean, actually made circuit in about 20 years or thereabouts, for different reasons, but so I'll be following it online this time. But it'll probably be easier in a way when you're at home watching it because you can be online and you can follow it. It's sometimes when you're on a ditch, you're not actually getting you're getting the atmosphere, but you're not knowing what's actually happening out on the stages as much. But I'll be glued to that now next week or week after next. And I think it should be good.
The Circuit of Ireland is an emotive name. It's probably in the past. It's probably not fair now that its current incarnation. But whenever you said earlier there, its heyday in the in the 70s and 80s, this was an event that the world's best come here to try and win it, and none of them did really at that, and that's not taking away from Jimmy McRae or Russell Brooks or whoever, but we had Mark Uellens, we had Darry Vatnans, we had the Stig Blomfius, the Kelly Grundles. All tried to come and crack the circuit.
But it was a torturous event. I mean, Mark Uellin is supposed to have said back he didn't enjoy the event at all when he did it back in 1978. Just found it too tough. And he said it was a world championship standard. And I suppose because it was a class as a secret rally, it never really appealed to the likes of Roar or Uellin for that reason because, and it was a tough event. It's 5 days, 2 nights. I mean, that's tough going 60 stages, going right up to 86. And then obviously got cut back a little bit. But definitely, I mean, I remember going to 1982 one, I think it was. And, it was Blomqvist had the Mikkola had the Quattro in 82. That was it. Brooks had the Chevette. And Jimmy Sylvan, won in the India Ascona. But it was, and Ari was there as well in the black Escort. So I mean, the entries it used to attract. I mean, even just recently, I was scanning some photographs from 1971. It was 200 cars started. Imagine back in those days. Now it did tail off. Obviously, it got more expensive, and I suppose just as time went on, but it still attracted, I suppose, up till the time it was in the BRC up to 1991. It still attracted a good entry even from 87 to 90 when you were probably losing a lot of the Scandinavian drivers, but you're still very competitive. And it's an interesting thing, I suppose, it's a bit nerdy, but I think the Circuit of Ireland, since the Tarmac Championship started, has never been a kind of what's the word I'm trying to find? It's never been important of somebody winning the championship. It's never,
No.
and probably because the first 12 or 13 years of it was part of the BRC, and those guys wouldn't have had any, or the Open Championship, and they wouldn't have any interest in pursuing the title. Now, I think Russell Brooks is one of the few who probably took advantage of it, but I think it's only about maybe 10 times ever that the guy who's won the circuit has actually gone on to win the tarmac.
Yeah.
You know, which is less than a quarter of all the championships. So winning the circuit does not mean you're going to win the championship. You might have the prestige of winning it, but you know, unlike some events like Donegal, if you won Donegal, the likelihood is you were probably, or Galway, you probably were likely to win the championship. But the circuit has never been that way. It's all not even since it went to a 5-day kind of more of a national rally back in '92. It never seemed to have a tarmac winner, an ultimate tarmac champion. Out of it,
yes,
you know?
you won the battle, but you don't won the war. As such,
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to describe it. Yeah. So it is, and I mean, even more recent time, Josh is the only one that's done that. You know, and Eugene was probably before him, and you know, it's a rare occurrence.
That's for sure. That is for sure. And like, you know, I suppose getting back to this year's event, like the modified section, you know, yes, there's, you know, a great entry, but not a lot of championship regulars. Like there's a lot of Northern Ireland Championship guys of that level, but like it's really only Kevin Eves, Frank Kelly, Jason Black, and Gareth Black is the main contenders there from the Tarmac Championship this year.
Yeah, it is, and last year was pretty similar as well. It wasn't overly well supported by the modified crew. I think Daniel McKenna, was one of the only ones that did it last year. Maybe Garrett Black possibly as well. Yeah, but even at that, I mean, it's still a very healthy entry of 120 odd cars there, you know. So, but yeah, and I suppose another one that's interesting, I think, is Adrian Hetherington's entered as well. I think that's his territory, so I don't think he'll be sparing it. He'll be well able to, you know, put it up to some of those boys as well.
That's for sure. But Adrian's one of them guys who can go anywhere in the country. He goes fast. You know, the commitment and the bravery.
Brilliant to watch.
Yeah,
brilliant to watch. Absolutely, you know,
sure.
and a good guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose it's the same last year. The modified one did tail a little bit, and then it all built up for Killarney and Donegal again. So, yeah, there isn't a huge. Actually, somebody I forgot to mention that's on the list I noticed as well was William Crichton as well.
Yeah.
You know, at least he was on the list I have anyway. It's interesting to see how he goes, because he had a really good run at West Cork, and you know, I'd fancy him to have a really good result in
actually the final results didn't really show how good a run he had in West Cork, because he was unfortunate. I think it was a puncture or something in the first or second stage, wasn't it? You know, but
first stage, yeah. I mean, if he had 3 minutes back, I'm not sure where he'd have finished, but I'm sure it'd be comfortably inside the top 10 anyway. So
I think somebody said it was 6th or 7th. He would have been overall, like, you know, and to come back and still finish 10th. Even with the puncher, like, that's phenomenal.
Yeah,
you know, so.
And catching cars hand over fist as well for a lot of Saturday as well. But yeah, he'll be, you know, again, he'll be somebody I'll be looking out for as well, to see how he gets on as well. It'll be interesting to see what
and would
how
be
he gets on there.
familiar with that type of terrain as well too. You know, like again, that Northern Ireland Championship. You know, William done that in his younger years as well too.
Although I don't think it matters what kind of terrain. I'd say he'll go quick anyway.
True.
You know, that's just
very true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Someone else there now as well. I think that could go well. Jason Mitchell as well. You know, Jason obviously didn't start well, didn't get to do West Cork because of damage done to the car in the Midlands, but went well enough in Galway. Probably a bit too soon, I suppose, to get back into any kind of rhythm. But he had some strong results last year, and you know, I suppose remember he's high jumping last year.
I don't think the polo has shown Jason's potential yet. You know, we've seen how good he was in the Fiesta last year. He's going to come good.
Yeah, I think he will. He'll come good. Good.
That is for sure.
And then I suppose the historics, you know, again, Ray Breen is on the list there. Duncan Williams, Wayne Evans, they were the first two in West Cork as well. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see how they go. Trevor Wilson is there. Craig McWilliams. So there's a few good drivers in there. There's a few like from the north, like Hugh McQuaid and Tommy O'Connell. Like they'll be very, very quick as well. You know, Colin McFall. You know, so they're all well able to go. You know.
Yeah, because like Tommy stepped into the championship last year and for Donegal and like was setting times that was just, you know, it wasn't he was quicker than most class 13 guys and was mixing it with the class 14 guy. Like, so Tommy's going to be no slouch in the BDG either.
No. Tommy's always quick, and I think he'll be very competitive. And actually, I think he'd be up there. I would nearly fancy him actually to win it out. You know, and you know, certainly he'd be very, very close to it. I mean, Wayne and Duncan probably haven't as much experience doing rallying up that neck of the woods. Obviously, Ray would be very quick in the legacy because you know he's he's starting to show a bit of pace in that car now because you know he's making more use to it. So, but I think Tommy will be the one. I think from what I can see there, I think Tommy could be the one to watch up in
I do.
start.
I think so too. Yeah. So like it's going to be a fascinating event. Like those 8 stages. As you said at the start, like it's a maximum of 10 seconds. It's going to cover
Yeah.
at the top two, if not the top 3 or 4. I think.
Yeah, and now and then again, of course, you could have a curve that could put us all wrong
Yeah.
because remember last year on Saturday evening where they were slick tires and the rain came down and all of a sudden there was 15, 16 seconds of a gap between some of them. But I think there's enough guys in there. It'd be like a very fast national rally down here. You know that because of the fact that it's just a one day. It'd be like a bit like the Midlands. The Midlands was a massive sprint because of what it was. You know, there was nothing spared, and you can't really be tactical about it. You kind of have to go at it from the start, and you have to be ready for whatever it throws at you. If it's dry, I would definitely think it'll be very, very tight. Obviously, if it's wet or slippery or whatever, it might be. But there's still guys there that are very, very strong. I mean, Josh is good in every kind of a surface. So is Rob. You know, and some guys, obviously, the guys that would have a bit more loose experience would probably. Would deal with any kind of conditions. You know?
Look at like Rob. Everybody else, on the Sunday in West Cork, everybody else was going on. They weren't sure of their tyre choice. They were a bit cautious. He just seemed to just click, and it come to the stage end. He was smiling. He was happy. The car was working. He was working. Gordon was working. It was just a dream for him at that time.
It was, and I suppose, it's and I said it is kind of in Gordon's neck of the woods a little bit too, this rally as well. So it'll, that may be helpful for him as well. Again, it all depends on how quick out of the blocks these guys go. As I said, if you lose 10 or 15 seconds on that first stage, it's very hard to see how and I'm not sure what way it breaks down. Is there service after 4 stages or is after 2 stages?
I think it's 2 service, 2 service. Yeah, so
okay.
But still, because it's such the short nature of the event. 10 or 15 seconds is a lot to try and pick up.
I don't think. You wouldn't make that back. You wouldn't make it back too easily anyway. So, actually, another person I forgot to mention as well that went really well in West Cork was David Kelly.
Yeah.
It's another person. I keep looking at different names on the list. I forgot that guy or and Declan Boyle, as I mentioned earlier, went really well on Sunday in West Cork as well. Getting up to speed again. Not a lot of luck at all, but him now and David Kelly, I think, will be 2 other guys there now you could need to keep an eye out for. David's getting more used to the car as well. He'll get quicker as well.
Yeah, because there was some very strong stage times there from David and West Cork in particular. There was a few top 4, top 5 times, which is great to see that the progression there as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you want. You want more guys coming in. You want more guys to challenge, and more guys to be able to step up to the next level. Because obviously the bar has been set extremely high now. So you have to, pull out the extra tenths of seconds here and there. Now it's not even seconds anymore. You have to everything counts.
I could think, we talked earlier, about those great events back in the 70s and 80s, and the one-on margins could have been 12, 15 minutes. I
think Billy Cole's margin was something like 20 minutes or something back in '84, something like that. That was probably one of the biggest ones, but that's because everyone else around him retired. But I think, it is. It's just a different. It's a sprint now. Once upon a time, it was an endurance, and it was the endurance to do. So, and it was a real car breaker back in those days, where you might be lucky to get maybe 20% of your crews home after the rally started. It's obviously it's different now. It's a bit more. It's more of a sprint in nature, but that's just the way rallying has gone. Anyway.
Yes, those were fantastic days. The 80s and all that. Of their time, they were some of the best rallying, but. This is something else now at the minute as well too. You have to cut your cloth to what's is available now. To try and run a 5-day event now just probably wouldn't be viable for either cars or clubs or anything now at this stage. So
it's a fantastic idea in theory. I mean, I wouldn't be against seeing something like attempted, obviously, but I logistics of it would be just crazy. I don't think you could, and I don't know if the cars are able. The modern cars are able for a 5-day, and I think it goes back to everything. I mean, I've seen rallying since the late '70s, so I think there's peaks and troughs in rallying at the moment, or over the years, and I would say the rallying at the moment I'm seeing is every bit as good as what I saw maybe back in the mid '90s or late mid '80s or early '80s when I was watching it first. I mean, it all depends on the nature of the competition. If the competition is there, the rallying will be as good as it ever will be. That's what you need. It's all about competition. If you have that competition there, it doesn't matter what area you're in. It's still good to watch. If you like the sport enough, you won't care. It's good to watch.
Yeah, because we are blessed now. I think we have mentioned. There is 10, 12 guys going there thinking they're going to win. Like, you know, we've been there whenever there's been two guys going to a rally and it was heads or tails which one of them two was going to win. Now to see 12 going at it, it is fantastic.
It's a bit like, it's probably a bit like the mid to late 90s, maybe, you know, when you had Kenny coming in taking on Bertie and Austin, and there was only the three of them for a couple of years. Then Ian Greer came along and Pat O'Hurson and these guys and Eamon Boland. They might not always have won rallies, but they were there and they added more to the mix. And by the late 90s, like, you had more guys coming up, and then by the noughties you had more guys again. But this is kind of more the same, although I think there's more guys up at the top level now.
Yeah,
at a similar level.
A broader base.
Yeah. But the only thing is, just to my mind, there's still too many guys there still waiting for their first international win. You know, they're guys that deserve a break once in a while. Like, I mean, you know, and I'm not disrespecting Josh in any way. Josh is good enough to win, but guys, somebody is going to have to, you know, to break the strangle. But who is it going to be? That's the thing. Callum is probably and Merritt are probably best equipped because they know how to win.
Yes.
With the likes of Rob and maybe Desi and Johnny. These are guys that are just seconds or fractions away at times from just doing it. And you know, and even Cahan as well. You just feel that there's a break somewhere there for them, you know.
Yeah, and if they could get that first one,
it's like Alistair and Galway, you know, like Alistair and Galway back in 2020.
Marion and Ulster last year. That's just seems to change his whole character now, you know. So.
Yeah, I just feel that, you know, in all the years of the last 40 odd years, I think it's the one time that there's been enough. You know, once in a while you see a driver that mightn't win an international, but he'll be close enough. I think we have a whole gaggle of them here that are deserving of a win somewhere along the way. You know, so it's great to see a new name on the list for that reason. You know, but at the same time, you know, it's Josh is the one on form at the moment, and with the bravery is just something else. Like just seeing some of the stuff he did in West Cork is just incredible, and just you know, he's a tough character to break down in a car when he gets ahead, and you know. But I mean, he sets the bar high, and it's up to the others to catch him and pass him.
That's exactly it. Yeah, no, we can't argue. You know, like they're putting in the work and they're getting the results, so we can't argue.
Exactly. Yeah. So as I said, I'm looking forward to it now. It's definitely, as I said, I won't be able to travel to it, but it'll be nice to see. It'll nice to see how it'll pan out now, and it'll set it up nicely for Killarney a few weeks after that as well.
Yeah. Great hearing from the two guys there. So that is season 2, episode 10. Once again, please thank you very much for listening and watching. It's been gratefully appreciated as always. Please like, share, rate, subscribe, all those things. Keep saying it makes all the difference, but it really, really does. So that's it. Until the next time, take care, speak soon, and bye.